Ladies and gentlemen, I decided to give this another shot with the Solar subclass update. I released a similar video to this one when Void 3.0 was let loose on the world of Destiny, pushing a Void Wall Grenade up over 400,000 points of damage. Pretty cool, but admittedly, not terribly practical because the Void Wall Grenade is rather janky, to put it mildly. Now, I wasn't able to eke out quite as much damage with Solar 3.0, but the setup did prove to be much more user-friendly. First thing you'll need is a Warlock on a Solar subclass. Go ahead and equip the Solar Grenade, and it'll be okay, I promise. You can put that Fusion Grenade away for a little bit and it'll still be there when you need it again. While you're in the menus, make sure you have Ember of Ashes equipped. It's the only fragment that's really consequential to what we're trying to accomplish, so no need to disrupt the rest of your setup. You're gonna want to have the Touch of Flame aspect on as well. I don't know how much the solar blobs actually help out here, but we're definitely going to want that increased grenade duration. For weapons, bring at least one that's solar. Preferably one that thrives in taking out adds and has good ammo economy. It doesn't necessarily have to be a primary weapon, but you don't want to be running out of bullets when you need them the most. Last piece of the puzzle, to absolutely nobody's surprise, the exotic helmet Verity's Brow. You'll need solar weapon kills, paired with the solar subclass, paired with Verity's Brow, to build stacks of death throws. Death throws is just a stacking grenade damage boost provided by the exotic. Plus 20% for each stack, stacks cap at 5x for a 100% grenade damage increase. Before we see it in action, I want to establish something real quick, just so we can get a better sense of what we're looking at. Carl, my preferred PvE damage testing partner, has about 300,000 total hit points. Just a bit more than that actually. Sleeper Simulant crits for 100,287 points of damage. With 3 crits, that's 300,861. Carl's left with just a sliver of health remaining. Enough to where if you sneezed on him, he'd probably keel over. But we can down him outright with a single grenade. So, we start building up our stacks of death throws to 5x. Solar weapon kills pile them up, they have an 11-second expiration timer that can be continually refreshed with subsequent kills. And the more time you have to work with, the better. When ready, throw the solar grenade right at Carl's feet and let him start burning. Every tick of damage registered by the grenade is doubled by the exotic. But the solar grenade is also applying scorched stacks at the same time. If you don't know what that means, I'll link this video on the end screen. Please go check it out, it will break it down for you. But a solar grenade at base applies 20 stacks from the blast and 14 stacks for every second that the target stands in the damage field. With the Touch of Flame aspect, the duration of the AoE itself is 5 seconds. So 20 plus 14 times 5 is 90. No ignition. And believe you me, we're gonna want that ignition. This is where Ember of Ashes comes into play, upping applied stacks by 50%. With the fragment, we're looking at 30 plus 21 times 5. 135. We only need to reach 100, so that'll do. So when the damage applied to Carl is right at the tail end of its duration, the ignition is gonna spark. What's special about this ignition, instead of seeing the base 36,144, it pops for 72,287. The ignition damage is seeing the 100% damage increase from Verity's Brow as well. And just guesstimating off of Carl's health bar, when it pops he has about 40,000 hit points remaining. So the grenade itself did roughly 260,000 points of damage. Tack on about another 72,000 points of damage for the ignition. So full term, that grenade did somewhere in the ballpark of 332,000 points of damage in about 6 seconds. That works out to just over 55,000 in terms of damage per second. Pretty impressive numbers for a single grenade toss. But I do like to look at things objectively, so we'll start out with what's good about this setup before we get into some of its downfalls. First off, you can do a shit ton of damage with a single grenade. And unlike last season's Void Wall experiment, which I did run in a similar setup, the solar grenade actually does what it's supposed to do without any seemingly random or erratic results. It is much more consistent. Plus, you don't have to completely upend your current build to try it out. There are a few moving pieces that you may need to swap around, but it's not like you have to re-kit your entire armor set to hit a specific stat line, or rearrange all the slots on your armor to try to make use of some of the more niche mod options. I mean, the setup's easy to apply, and it's easy to unapply if you're not into it. A few other selling points. Molten Overload and Withering Heat are currently in the seasonal artifact. Both are really nice options if you want to take your stupid strong solar grenades into content where champions are present. And Verity's Brow, for as hideous looking as it is, can be a pretty solid general use exotic. Even if you're not going for that maxed out 5-stack solar nade on a big boy target, bonus grenade damage is always nice in the moment-to-moment gameplay, and it does have that passive grenade regeneration improvement when death throws are active. Some drawbacks though. Unfortunate mishaps can and will happen from time to time. Enemies can just walk out of the damage field, or the damage could stagger them out of the AoE. And while this is far less common, it has a much lower potential for missed damage than the aforementioned Void Wall, the possibility is always there. Also, if you're playing for that big blast from the ignition, timing is key. Total duration of the grenade from the moment it contacts a surface is about 6 seconds. Death Throws has a maximum 11-second duration. So from the moment you secure that kill to hit 5x or reset your timer, you have 5 seconds to get that grenade to where it needs to be. Not impossible by any means, but it may require some thoughtful setup in certain scenarios. And obviously, if there are no adds left in an area to kill, you're not going to get any bonus grenade damage. Also, solar weapons, solar subclass, might not be great for when the match game modifier is active. The solar fulmination artifact mod did not increase the ignition's damage any further. Evidently, this mod still isn't quite working correctly, which is a bit disappointing. And just a few other quick points before what I consider to be a major flaw. 1, you will be required to unequip Starfire Protocol. Not much I can do about it, my apologies. Aztecross did not make a video about this, so there's absolutely no way that this setup is not hot garbage. And we are making use of Solar 3.0, which is, in fact, the worst thing that ever happened to Destiny in the history of the game. Bungie ruined everything. All jokes aside though, one more major detracting factor regarding Scorch Stacks and Ignition. If Scorch Stacks are applied to a target from another source, be it a melee, a weapon, other players, for some reason, you will not see the improved ignition damage. I picked up on this when testing out Prometheus Lens, and it holds true here as well. Even if it is the grenade that ultimately applies the Scorch Stacks required to proc the ignition, base damage. So right now might actually be the worst time to try this out, at least in group matchmade activities. You're fine if you're running solo, but there's just too many random players running around spreading their Scorch on anything that has a pulse. But as soon as Arc 3.0 drops, we're in business. Now, I'm sure a lot of you sniffed out the fact that this isn't exactly an endgame build. I'd definitely say it lands more on the side of fun than effectiveness, but if you want to spice things up a little bit, I think this will do the trick. But hey, if you did enjoy this video, if you got something out of it, or if you were just happy listening to the sound of my voice, please remember to leave it a like, pass it around to some friends if you think there's value in the content, or consider subscribing to the Ironworker Gaming channel to catch more of my Destiny 2 content in the near future. Any additional thoughts on the subject matter? Leave them down below and I'll be sure to check them out. You guys are awesome and I will catch you on the next one.